The night was quiet in the small town where Aaron lived. The streets were empty, and the only sound came from the soft hum of insects in the fields. Aaron had just finished working in his small workshop, where he repaired tools and built simple machines for the farmers. He carried a lantern in one hand as he walked back to his little house on the edge of the town. Aaron enjoyed the silence of the night. His life was simple. He worked with his hands, helped his neighbors when they needed him, and spent most evenings alone. He had no family in the town, only memories of parents who had passed away long ago. Many people considered him quiet and a little strange, but he did not mind. He was content with his routine. That night, however, something unusual broke his calm walk. As he crossed the narrow path near the woods, he noticed movement in the darkness. At first he thought it was an animal, maybe a deer or a stray dog. But as he raised his lantern, the figure came into the light. Aaron froze in his steps. It was not an animal. It was not even human. A young woman stood before him, but she was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin had a faint glow, soft like moonlight, and her eyes shimmered like pieces of the night sky. She wore torn clothes made from a strange material that reflected the light of his lantern. Her body trembled as if she had walked a long way. She looked weak, her breathing heavy. Aaron's heart pounded. He had heard stories of strange visitors, travelers from the stars who sometimes appeared on Earth. Most people dismissed these stories as myths. Yet here one stood before him, injured and alone. The woman looked at him with wide eyes, filled with both fear and hope. She raised a hand slightly, as if to ask for help, but her strength failed. She collapsed to her knees. Aaron hurried forward. Fear ran through his body, but his sense of duty was stronger. He knelt beside her and spoke in a calm voice. "Are you hurt? Can you understand me?" The woman opened her mouth, and broken words came out. Her voice was soft and musical, though strained. "Water, please." Aaron quickly pulled a small flask from his bag. He held it out carefully. She drank slowly, her trembling hands barely able to hold it. After a few sips, she coughed, then looked up at him with gratitude in her glowing eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Aaron did not know what to do next. Leaving her there was unthinkable, but bringing her into the town could cause panic. People were not ready to see an alien in their streets. He thought for a moment and then made his choice. He would take her to his home. "Can you walk?" he asked gently. She tried to stand, but her legs gave way. Without hesitation, Aaron supported her with his arm. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, as if her body was not built for the heavy pull of Earth's gravity. Step by step, they moved together until they reached his small house. Inside, Aaron helped her lie down on his bed. He placed another blanket over her and lit a fire to warm the room. The woman watched him closely, her eyes filled with trust but also caution. "My name is Aaron," he said, pointing to himself. "Aaron." She nodded weakly. "Myra," she replied. Her name lingered in the air like a secret gift. Aaron felt a mix of wonder and responsibility. He had no idea why she was here, how she had arrived, or what danger might follow. But he knew one thing clearly. He could not turn away from someone who needed help, no matter where they came from. For the rest of the night, he stayed awake, watching over Myra as she slept. She murmured strange words in her language, her glowing skin dimming slightly as her breathing slowed. Aaron thought about the risk he had taken. If anyone found out, they might fear him, or worse, try to harm her. Yet when he looked at her face, peaceful in her rest, he felt no regret. The night stretched on. Outside, the stars shone bright across the sky. Aaron wondered if Myra's people were up there, searching for her. He wondered if she would leave as suddenly as she had appeared. He wondered if helping her would bring danger or change into his quiet life. But one thought remained stronger than all the others. He had done the right thing. By morning, Aaron's life was no longer the same. The simple craftsman who had lived quietly at the edge of town was now the guardian of a stranger from another world. And though he did not know it yet, this small act of kindness would soon carry him into a story far greater than anything he had imagined. Morning sunlight filled Aaron's small house. The fire from last night had died, leaving only ashes. Aaron sat in his wooden chair, his eyes heavy with tiredness. He had not slept at all. Every time he closed his eyes, he feared Myra might wake in pain or disappear without a trace. When he finally looked toward the bed, he saw Myra sitting up slowly. Her glowing skin was dimmer in the light, but her strange beauty remained. She blinked as if the brightness of day was new to her. Aaron stood quickly and brought her a cup of water. "Here, drink," he said gently. She accepted it with shaky hands. After drinking, her voice came out clearer than before, though still broken. "Thank you, Aaron." Hearing his name from her lips surprised him. She had remembered. He smiled a little, trying to ease her worry. "You are safe here," he said. "No one will find you." Myra's eyes softened, but there was still fear hidden in them. She looked around the small room, her gaze resting on the tools on the table, the old shelves, and the cracked walls. It was a simple place, yet to her it seemed like a shelter from the world. Aaron brought her bread and soup. He watched carefully as she tried to eat. Her movements were clumsy, as if she was not used to human food. But after tasting it, her expression changed. She looked surprised, then nodded slowly, showing she could eat it. "Good?" Aaron asked. She gave a small smile. "Good." It was a simple exchange, but it felt like a bridge between two worlds. For the next few days, Myra rested and healed. Aaron gave her food, water, and blankets, while she stayed mostly quiet, studying him with her shining eyes. Sometimes she tried to speak, searching for the right words. Other times she drew shapes in the air with her fingers, as if trying to explain things he could not understand. One evening, as the sun set, Myra pointed at the stars appearing in the sky. She spoke slowly. "My home, up there. Far, far away." Aaron followed her gaze. He had always loved the stars, but now they carried new meaning. Somewhere among them was her world, her family, her people. "Will they come for you?" he asked carefully. Myra paused, her eyes clouded with sadness. "I, lost. Separated. Attack." She struggled with the words, her voice trembling. "Ship broken. I fall, here." Aaron listened in silence. He did not fully understand what dangers she had faced, but he saw the pain in her expression. She had been through fear and loneliness. His heart tightened. "You are not alone now," he said firmly. "I will help you." Myra looked at him as if testing his truth. Slowly, she nodded. From that night, something changed. She began to trust him more. She no longer looked at the door in fear each time the wind blew. She no longer pulled away when he offered her food or water. Instead, she began to sit near him, sometimes watching as he worked on small machines at his table. One morning, Aaron found Myra touching one of his unfinished tools. It was a small machine made to cut wood more easily. She studied it with curious eyes, then adjusted a piece with surprising skill. When Aaron tested it later, it worked better than before. "You know this?" he asked, impressed. Myra tilted her head and searched for words. "I learn fast. Build different at home." She tapped her temple gently, showing how she remembered knowledge. Aaron laughed softly. "Then you are smarter than me already." For the first time, Myra laughed too. It was a gentle sound, like music carried by the wind. Their days grew warmer with this bond. Aaron told her small stories of his town, his work, and the people he had helped. Myra listened carefully, sometimes repeating words to learn them better. In return, she taught him simple phrases in her own language. The words felt strange on his tongue, but she smiled each time he tried. Still, danger remained close. Aaron knew he had to be careful. He avoided bringing anyone into his house. He bought food and supplies quietly, never hinting at his secret. If people discovered Myra, they might react with fear, or worse, call the authorities. He could not risk her safety. One night, a storm struck the town. Rain poured heavily, and thunder rolled across the sky. Myra shivered at the sound, pulling the blanket tightly around her. Aaron placed more wood in the fire to keep the room warm. "It is only a storm," he explained. "It will pass." Myra whispered, "Storm, at home too. Big, dangerous. But, together safe." She looked at him, her eyes glowing brighter in the firelight. "You keep safe." Her words were simple, but Aaron felt the depth behind them. She trusted him. She believed in him. That trust grew stronger each passing day. Myra no longer seemed like a stranger in his house. She moved with more comfort, helped him with small tasks, and sometimes even hummed soft tunes from her world. Aaron found himself listening to her voice even when he could not understand the meaning. One evening, she touched his hand lightly. It was a brief contact, but it carried weight. "Thank you, Aaron. You, kind. You saved me." Aaron felt a warmth rise in his chest. He had never been called special by anyone. He had always been the quiet craftsman who lived alone. But to Myra, he was more than that. To her, he was hope. What had started as a single act of compassion was now shaping into something greater. Aaron could feel it. His life was no longer ordinary. And though he could not see the future, he knew the bond between him and Myra was only beginning. The days passed quietly in Aaron's small house, but the peace never lasted long. Myra was stronger now. She could walk without help, and her words were clearer each day. Aaron saw how quickly she learned. She was no longer just surviving. She was preparing. Sometimes, when she thought he was not looking, she stood outside and searched the sky with longing eyes. Aaron knew it was only a matter of time before her people came. He did not know how, or when, but he felt it in his heart. Something larger than both of them was moving closer. One cool evening, while Aaron was repairing a broken lantern, a strange sound filled the air. It was low and deep, like thunder, but steady. Myra's head snapped up. Her glowing eyes widened. She rushed to the door and pulled it open. Aaron followed quickly, his heart racing. In the distance, above the fields, a light appeared. At first it looked like a star, but it grew larger and brighter. The sound grew louder, making the ground tremble under their feet. Aaron realized it was not thunder at all. It was something coming from the sky. Myra's lips parted, and a single word escaped. Family. Aaron stared as the light descended. A ship unlike anything he had ever seen slowly lowered itself beyond the edge of the town. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, changing colors as it caught the last rays of the sun. The size of it was greater than any building in the town. It did not crash or roar. It moved with control, with grace, until it rested on the open field. The townsfolk noticed. From far away, people began to gather, pointing and whispering. Some were afraid. Others were curious. No one dared move closer yet. Aaron turned to Myra. She was trembling, but not with fear. Her face shone with hope. She looked younger in that moment, almost like a child seeing home again after being lost. They found you, Aaron said softly. She nodded quickly, then looked at him with urgency. Come. Please. Aaron hesitated. Was it safe for him? He was only a human craftsman. What place did he have among beings from the stars? But when he saw the way Myra held his hand, he understood. She wanted him beside her. She did not want to face them alone. Together, they walked toward the ship. As they approached, a door opened in the side of the vessel. A ramp extended to the ground with a faint hum. Figures stepped out, tall and graceful, their forms glowing faintly like Myra's. They moved with elegance, their eyes scanning the area. Their clothing was made from flowing fabric that shimmered like starlight. The first to reach Myra was a woman who looked older, her glow softer but steady. Myra ran into her arms. The woman embraced her tightly, speaking quickly in their own language. Aaron could not understand, but he felt the emotion in every sound. Relief. Joy. Love. More figures gathered around. Some touched Myra's shoulders, others spoke her name. Then their glowing eyes turned toward Aaron. He froze, unsure of what to do. His heart pounded as the group studied him in silence. He expected suspicion, maybe even anger. After all, he was a stranger who had hidden one of their own. But what came next shocked him. The older woman released Myra and stepped toward him. She was taller than him by a head, her presence strong yet gentle. She raised her hand slowly, then placed it over her heart in a gesture of respect. The others followed, bowing their heads toward him. Aaron's eyes widened. He whispered under his breath, "What is this?" Myra stepped beside him, her smile bright despite the tears in her eyes. She spoke carefully, her words halting but clear. "They honor you. You saved me." Aaron shook his head. "I only gave you shelter. Anyone would have." Myra shook her head firmly. "No. Many fear. Many run. You help. You protect. This is great." The aliens continued to bow, their glowing eyes never leaving him. The townsfolk who watched from afar gasped. They had never seen such a sight. Strange beings from the stars were lowering themselves before a simple human craftsman. One of the younger men stepped forward and spoke in a deep voice. His words were strange, but Myra translated softly. "He says you are chosen. You showed honor when no one else would. To us, this is sacred." Aaron felt his mouth go dry. Chosen. Sacred. He was just Aaron, a man with rough hands and a quiet life. Yet here he stood, facing beings who looked like living stars, and they treated him as if he were a leader. Myra touched his arm gently. "Do not fear. This is good. Aaron tried to breathe steady. What does it mean? Myra hesitated, her eyes searching his. Then she spoke the truth. It means, they want you part of us. My family sees you as one of their own. Aaron staggered at the words. He looked at the glowing figures, all watching him with respect and expectation. A storm of thoughts swirled inside him. He had wanted nothing more than to help someone in need, and now that single act was drawing him into something far greater than himself. The ship loomed behind them, lights shining like a second sun. The townsfolk whispered louder, unsure if they should celebrate or run. Myra's family closed in around them, creating a circle of light. Aaron stood at the center with Myra beside him. He could feel the weight of their respect pressing down, but also lifting him at the same time. He whispered again, almost to himself. What have I done? Myra answered softly, her voice steady. You showed heart. And my people, they will never forget. The night sky above was filled with stars, but none shone brighter than the bond that had formed between one human and a family from beyond the stars. Aaron did not yet know the path ahead, but he could feel that his life was no longer his own. He had stepped into a story that would carry him far beyond the quiet walls of his workshop. The night of Myra's reunion with her people felt like a dream to Aaron. He had expected them to take her away at once, yet they stayed in the field outside his town. Their great ship rested silently, its surface glowing like liquid silver. The townsfolk kept their distance, watching from behind fences and trees. No one dared approach too closely. Inside the circle of Myra's family, Aaron felt out of place. He was a man of tools and wood, used to fixing broken machines, not standing before beings who carried the glow of stars in their skin. Yet they looked at him with respect instead of suspicion. Myra stood beside him, her hand brushing his arm lightly as if to remind him that he was not alone. She spoke quietly. They wish to thank you. They will not harm you. Aaron nodded, though his heart still pounded. The older woman, who seemed to be Myra's mother, stepped forward. She spoke in a calm, melodic voice. Myra translated with care. She says you gave her daughter shelter when she was lost. She says in our ways, this act is not small. It is a bond. Aaron shifted uneasily. I did what anyone should do. She was hurt. I could not leave her. Myra's mother smiled softly, understanding his humility even without words. Then she spoke again, her tone deeper now. Myra's face grew serious as she translated. She says, you are more than a helper. You are a protector. You showed courage without asking reward. In our people's law, this makes you worthy. They ask, will you join our family? Aaron froze. He thought he had misheard. Join your family. Myra nodded slowly. Yes. It is our way. When one saves a life with true honor, they are welcomed as family. They may marry, they may share name and blood. It is not a small offer. It is the highest gift. Aaron felt his breath catch. Marry. Share blood. His hands trembled. He looked at the glowing figures around him, each watching with calm expectation. Some smiled, others bowed their heads. Myra's father stepped forward now, his voice strong and deep. Myra translated again. He says, you have the heart of a leader. You choose kindness when fear was easier. He says such spirit must not be left alone. He says their daughters, their kin, all see you as worthy. They wish you to be husband to their line. Aaron's mind spun. Husband to their line? Did that mean, not just Myra, but the entire family saw him as chosen? He looked at Myra in shock, but her eyes were gentle, not surprised. She had known this might come. The townsfolk who had gathered gasped when they saw the aliens bowing once more to Aaron. Whispers spread like fire. Some called him blessed, others cursed him. A simple craftsman being honored by beings from the stars was beyond their understanding. Aaron tried to speak, his voice unsteady. I cannot. I am just a man. My house is small. I have nothing to give to such a great people. Myra reached for his hand. You gave more than you know. You gave care when no one was watching. That is greater than gold. Her words carried warmth, but Aaron still felt the weight of the proposal pressing down on him. He thought of his quiet life, his workshop filled with tools, his nights spent in silence. Could he truly belong to a family that lived among stars? Could he marry into a people so far from his own world? Myra's younger sisters, glowing and graceful, stepped forward. One spoke, her voice light and curious. Myra translated. She says she does not see weakness in you. She says your strength is your heart. She says you would honor their name. The pressure grew stronger. Aaron could see the expectation in their faces. Yet he also saw something else in Myra's eyes. Not pressure, but hope. She was not forcing him. She was giving him a choice. He lowered his head, trying to breathe through the storm inside him. This is too much. I cannot decide now. Myra spoke quickly to her family in their own language. They listened and nodded. Then her mother raised her hand gently and spoke again. Myra translated softly. She says you need time. She says choice must be free. They will wait. But they will not take back the honor. To them, you are already chosen. Aaron felt both relief and fear. Relief because he was not forced, fear because the decision still hung over him like a mountain. The family stepped back, giving him space. Myra stayed close, her hand warm in his. Do not be afraid, she whispered. I know it is much. But whatever you choose, you will not lose my respect. Aaron looked at her glowing face, then at the ship that loomed like a second moon above the field. The simple world he knew had been shattered. He was no longer just Aaron the craftsman. He was Aaron the chosen, the man who had earned the highest honor of a people not his own. As the night deepened, the family invited him and Myra into the ship. The townsfolk watched in awe as the human and the glowing beings disappeared inside together. The air within the ship was filled with soft light, walls smooth and flowing as if alive. The sound of music, gentle and endless, moved through the corridors. Aaron felt as if he had stepped into a dream. Myra guided him, her expression calm. This is home for us. If you choose, it can be home for you too. Aaron touched the wall, feeling warmth beneath his fingers. He thought of his workshop, the rough wood and iron tools. He thought of the smell of earth after rain, the small joys of his quiet life. Could he leave all of that? Myra's family showed him seats of crystal, food that glowed faintly, and water that tasted like sweet fruit. They treated him not as an outsider, but as one of them already. Every gesture carried respect. Every word held welcome. When the night ended and Aaron finally returned to his house, his mind was heavy. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. His life had been simple yesterday. Today it was filled with choices that could change not only his future, but the bond between humans and beings from the stars. He whispered to himself, barely audible. What am I meant to do? Outside, the ship glowed quietly in the field, waiting for his answer. The great ship stayed in the open field for days, its glowing surface shining even at night. The townsfolk could not look away. Some watched with wonder, whispering that it was a blessing. Others muttered with fear, saying it was a danger that should never have come. Farmers avoided working near the field, children were kept inside, and the whole town seemed frozen between awe and worry. At the center of all this was Aaron. He no longer lived his quiet life. Everywhere he went, people whispered. Some offered him respect, bowing their heads, while others glared at him as if he had brought trouble to their doorstep. One afternoon, while Aaron walked through the market to buy food, an older man stopped him. "You have brought them here," the man said sharply. "We have lived in peace, and now the sky burns with strangers. Do you know what you have done?" Aaron did not argue. He only lowered his head and walked away. He knew the man's fear was not without reason. The ship was massive, and the beings inside were powerful. Yet Aaron also knew the truth. Without him, Myra might have died alone. Without his help, her family might have come with anger instead of gratitude. That night, when Aaron returned home, Myra was waiting for him. She sat by the fire, her glowing skin soft in the dim light. "They spoke to me," she said slowly, her human words clearer now. "My family asks again. They wait for your answer." Aaron sighed deeply. He sat across from her, rubbing his tired hands. "Myra, I do not know what to do. Your people treat me as if I am something important, but I am just a man. I fix tools. I live quietly. I am not worthy of this." Myra leaned closer, her eyes steady. "You are worthy because you cared. That is all my people see. That is enough." Her words warmed him, but they did not ease his burden. He felt torn between two worlds. If he agreed to join her family, he would leave behind everything he knew. If he refused, he might dishonor them, and the fragile bond between their worlds could break. The next day, Myra's father came to visit his house. His tall figure filled the doorway, and his presence made Aaron's small home feel smaller still. Myra translated his words with care. "He says the family will honor your choice, but they do not understand why you wait. To them, honor is simple. You saved Myra, so you are bound. To refuse would be shame. They do not want you to live with shame." Aaron looked into the man's glowing eyes. "Tell him I do not wish to shame anyone. But I cannot marry without love. Where I come from, marriage is not only duty. It must come from the heart." Myra spoke his words, and her father listened in silence. Then he nodded slowly and replied. Myra translated again. "He says your honesty is strength. But he warns that others in the family may not understand. They may see refusal as insult." When her father left, Aaron felt heavier than before. He walked outside into the night air, staring at the glowing ship in the field. He wished for a simple answer, but none came. In the days that followed, the town grew restless. Some people began to demand that the ship leave. They said the strangers were watching them, judging them, changing their lives. Others defended Aaron, saying he had done what was right, and that the visitors meant no harm. The market filled with arguments. Old friends avoided each other. Fear and wonder clashed in every corner. And in the middle of it all, Aaron felt the pressure growing. One evening, Myra joined him on a walk through the quiet fields. The stars shone above, and the ship's glow lit the horizon. She spoke softly. "You are troubled." "Yes," Aaron admitted. "If I choose your family, I leave behind my people. If I refuse, I risk insulting your family and losing the peace we have. Either way, I hurt someone." Myra stopped walking. She turned to face him, her glowing eyes steady. "What do you want?" The question struck him harder than anything else. He had been thinking only of duty, of fear, of what others expected. He had not asked himself what he truly wanted. "I want to live in truth," he said after a long pause. "I want to do what feels right, not what feels forced." Myra reached for his hand. "Then do that. My family will see your heart, even if others do not. You taught me this. Choice must be free." Her touch gave him strength, but his heart was still heavy. He knew he would have to speak his decision soon. The family would not wait forever, and the town could not live under the shadow of the ship without an answer. Later that week, Myra's family invited him again to the ship. The great hall inside glowed with gentle light, and the air hummed with calm energy. They sat in a circle, their eyes fixed on him. Myra sat at his side, ready to translate. The mother spoke first. Myra translated. "She says the family waits. She asks if you have decided." Aaron stood in the center of the circle. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. "I have thought many nights. I have listened to my people and to yours. I cannot accept only because of duty. Where I come from, love must guide marriage. Without love, the bond has no meaning." Myra translated, her voice clear and strong. Silence followed. The family studied him, their glowing eyes unreadable. Then the father stood. He spoke slowly, his voice deep. Myra's translation came like a wave of relief. "He says your answer is not insult. He says it is brave. To speak truth against pressure is greater than silence. He says this is honor too." Aaron felt his chest loosen, as if a weight had lifted. Myra squeezed his hand, her smile glowing brighter than her skin. But the matter was not fully ended. Some of the younger kin still looked unsure. Some whispered among themselves, glancing at Aaron with mixed feelings. The path ahead was not simple, but Aaron had spoken his truth. When he returned to his house that night, he felt tired but clearer than before. He did not know what the future held, but he knew he could not betray his own heart. Myra sat with him by the fire, her voice soft. "You were strong. My family respects you more now. Whatever comes, you will not face it alone." Aaron looked at her and saw not just an alien, but someone who understood him, someone who had walked through fear and found trust. In that moment, he realized something he had not admitted even to himself. His heart had already begun to lean toward her. The dilemma was not over, but the choice was becoming clearer. The days after Aaron's speech inside the alien ship felt quieter, but the air was still heavy with expectation. Myra's family no longer pressed him with questions, yet their glowing eyes always carried the same silent weight. They were waiting, and Aaron knew they would not wait forever. The town remained restless too. Some people came to his door, asking if the strangers would leave soon. Others came only to stare at his house, whispering about the strange bond between him and Myra. Children pointed when he walked by, and adults lowered their voices as if he had become something more and less than human at the same time. Aaron tried to keep busy in his workshop, repairing tools and shaping wood, but his hands often froze in the middle of work. His mind was always on the same question. What choice would he make? Myra noticed his struggle. One evening, as they sat near the fire, she leaned closer. "You carry heavy thoughts," she said gently, her words smoother than before. She had been learning quickly, and now her voice flowed with more confidence. Aaron looked into the fire. I fear whatever choice I make will hurt someone. If I accept, I leave my world. If I refuse, I risk breaking the bond between our people. I do not know how to walk this path. Myra placed her glowing hand over his. You already walk it? You speak truth. That is the path. Her words calmed him, but they also made his heart beat faster. He realized how much he depended on her presence now. When she first appeared at his door, she had been a stranger. Now she felt like the most important part of his life. The turning point came a few nights later. Myra's family invited him again to the ship. This time, not only the family gathered. More of their people had arrived, stepping from the great vessel with glowing skin and steady eyes. The hall inside was filled with soft light, and the air carried the sound of low music, as if the ship itself was alive. Aaron stood at the center once more. Myra stayed at his side, her hand holding his firmly. The mother spoke first, her voice calm but strong. Myra translated. She says the family honors your words, but they ask for your heart now. They must know if you choose to stand with them or remain with your people. The room fell silent. Dozens of glowing eyes focused on him. Aaron felt his chest tighten, but he forced himself to breathe. He thought of his workshop, his town, the life he had known. He thought of the whispers, the fear, and the loneliness he had carried for years. Then he thought of Myra. He thought of the night he found her, broken and lost, and how she had smiled again because of his care. He stepped forward slowly. His voice was steady. I cannot marry for duty. I cannot join a family because of custom alone. But I can speak what is in my heart. And my heart tells me this. I care for Myra. I do not know how love grows between your people, but in mine, this is the beginning of it. If I am to join your family, it will be because I choose her, not because of law or tradition. Myra translated his words, her voice trembling as she spoke. When she finished, the hall grew still. For a moment, Aaron feared he had offended them again. But then Myra's father stood. His tall figure glowed brighter, and his deep voice filled the space. Myra translated quickly, tears forming in her eyes. He says, you have spoken true. You did not bow to pressure. You did not hide your feelings. This is greater than any custom. This is honor of the highest kind. They accept your choice. The family rose to their feet. Instead of bowing this time, they placed their glowing hands over their hearts. A sign of deep respect. Myra's mother stepped forward and placed her hand gently on Aaron's shoulder. Though she spoke in her own language, Aaron felt the meaning in her tone. He was accepted. Myra turned to him, her eyes shining. They give blessing. Not for duty, but for love. You chose me, and that is enough. Aaron felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time since this began, he felt clear. His choice was not forced. It was real. That night, when they returned to his house, the town was buzzing with whispers. Some feared what it meant, others celebrated quietly. But Aaron no longer cared about the noise of others. He cared only about the truth he had spoken and the bond that was growing between him and Myra. They sat together by the fire, and Myra leaned against him softly. You changed my life, Aaron, she whispered. When I was lost, you gave me hope. Now my family sees your heart. And I feel close to you. Aaron placed his hand over hers. You changed my life too. I never thought I would matter to anyone. But now I see that even a simple man can do something great. Outside, the ship glowed quietly in the night. Inside the small house, a new bond had been sealed, not by custom or law, but by choice and heart. The decision had been made. But Aaron knew the story was not finished. New challenges would come, both from his people and hers. Yet for the first time, he felt ready to face them, not alone, but with Myra at his side. The ship remained in the open field, glowing like a second moon. For weeks, it had stood as a mystery and a symbol, dividing the town with both fear and wonder. But after Aaron's decision, something began to shift. The glow of the ship no longer felt threatening. It felt like a promise. Myra's family visited the town more often. At first, people hid behind doors and shutters, peeking out at the tall glowing figures. But Myra spoke softly to them in their own language, showing that her people were not here to harm. Children were the first to step closer, curiosity stronger than fear. Soon, laughter was heard as children tried to touch the glow of their visitors' hands, and the visitors let them with kind smiles. Aaron watched all of this with quiet pride. He had not only chosen Myra but also built a bridge between two worlds. His simple act of kindness, giving shelter to a lost stranger, had grown into something far greater than he could have imagined. Yet challenges still remained. Some townsfolk were not ready to trust. One evening, at the gathering hall, voices rose in anger. "We do not know them," one man shouted. "They could take our land, our lives. How do we know this is not a trick?" Aaron stood before them, calm but firm. "You are right to fear. Fear keeps us safe when danger is real. But I have lived with Myra. I have spoken with her family. They came with power, but they stayed with kindness. If they wanted harm, they would not wait. They would not care about our trust. They care because they wish peace." His words settled the crowd, though doubt still lingered. It would take time, but time was something both sides were willing to give. That night, Myra spoke to him quietly. "You are leader now, even if you do not want it. Your people listen because you speak with truth." Aaron shook his head with a small smile. "I am not a leader. I am only a man who opened his door." Myra smiled back. "Sometimes that is how leaders are made." Days passed into weeks, and slowly the walls of fear came down. Myra's family invited townsfolk inside the ship. The people gasped at the glowing halls, the soft hum of machines, and the gardens of light that grew without soil. In return, the townsfolk welcomed the visitors to their farms and markets, showing them bread fresh from ovens and water drawn from wells. Both sides marveled at the differences, and both sides found respect. Aaron and Myra became the link between these worlds. Where words failed, Myra's gentle patience and Aaron's steady honesty filled the gap. They stood together before councils, before crowds, before families who did not understand. And each time, they showed that trust was possible. But the strongest moment came one morning when Myra's father called the town to the field. The ship's door opened wide, and the family stepped out. Myra's father raised his hand, and Myra translated his words. "He says their people will return to the stars soon. They cannot stay forever. But before they go, they leave a bond. Not of duty. Not of law. But of choice. They see in Aaron and Myra the seed of peace. If their bond grows, so will the bond between our worlds." The crowd was silent. Some eyes were wet with tears, others filled with awe. Then, slowly, people began to clap. It started with one farmer, then another, until the whole crowd joined. The sound echoed through the field like thunder, not of fear but of hope. Aaron felt Myra's hand in his, warm and steady. He looked at her and knew his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a quiet craftsman. He was part of something greater, something that reached beyond the sky. That evening, as the sun set, Myra and Aaron sat outside his house. The glow of the ship lit the horizon, and the stars sparkled above. Myra leaned close, her voice soft. "Do you regret?" Aaron shook his head. "No, I thought I would lose myself in all this, but instead, I found who I truly am." Myra rested her head against his shoulder. "And I found home." The night grew quiet, but the future was loud with promise. Aaron knew challenges would come. His people and hers were too different to understand each other easily. There would be moments of doubt, of conflict, of misunderstanding. But he also knew they had taken the first step, and that step mattered most. As the stars stretched across the sky, the ship hummed softly in the distance. Soon it would rise and return to the heavens, but the bond it left behind would remain. A bond built not on fear or force, but on kindness, truth, and choice. Aaron closed his eyes, feeling Myra's hand in his. He thought of the path he had walked, from a quiet life to a life that touched the stars. He thought of the choice he had made, not out of duty but out of heart. And in that moment, he knew humanity had taken its first step into a wider world, guided not by power or war, but by something far greater. By the simple truth that even a single human act of kindness could change the fate of two worlds. The dawn would come soon, and with it a new chapter. But for now, in the quiet of the night, Aaron and Myra sat together, bound by love, watched over by stars, and surrounded by the promise of peace. It was not just the end of a story. It was the beginning of many.